Right, so thank you for making it here the morning after, the night before. I hope you'll find this an interesting, stimulating session. And really what we're trying to get over to you today, that it doesn't matter whether you have a large facility or small facility at your institution. There are plenty of there's plenty of advice, there's plenty of free guidance out there to assist you in trying to make your facilities more energy efficient. And we've got some case studies of people who have done just that, despite the very small facilities that they do run. So I'm going to try and keep this quite high level, because I appreciate you're not necessarily all going to be data center experts here, and I really want to give you guidance rather than kind of wow you with the technology, because I don't think that would be of great use. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about defining what the data center is, and then looking at some of the kind of metrics that you can use in order to find out whether your data center is efficient or not. And then look at some of the tools and toolkits that are out there to assist you, particularly the EU Code of Conduct, some of the maturity models, etc. Then I'll take a look at some of the best practices. It's not an exhaustive list, but it is something that you can take away and start looking at your facilities straight away if you really wanted to, and see how you matched up to them, and maybe advice on them yourself. And I'm going to touch on some of the results that we got from our case study at the Green Gallery Award last year, to show you what the benefits can be of applying these best practices yourself. To summarise all that, we're going to have questions after my presentation. And then I do have a couple of slides from the SUSTEC project, which is a GIST-backed project that the EAUC running. I don't have a huge amount of information on that. All I have is a couple of slides. So just basically going to tell you what it is and where to find it. And then we'll hand over to Alex and Dave from Worcester College of Technology to talk about their case study. And we've got the expert panel here. So, what's a data center? Well, essentially it provides a secure facility to hold your computers, whether they be enterprise computers, whether they be HPC. It provides cooling and it provides protective power, okay, to ensure that you have resilience and you have continuity of service. There's a Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory definition, which basically says it's there to house equipment such as computer servers, routers, etc. Stores, manages and processes, exchange digital data and information. It provides these services for your institution or business. It's quite interesting that it says data center energy costs will be 100 times higher than those for typical buildings. It's estimated that the data industry as a whole accounts for something around 2% of worldwide global emissions of CO2. So you can see it's a big problem, and it needs to be tackled. And there are other names for data centres. We don't necessarily stick to a rigid definition of the name. And there's all these different names you might come across, but essentially they're data centers. Whether you call it the server room or comms cupboard, or data farm, data warehouse, server farm, they all have something in common, which is the previous definition. There's a point at the bottom there, which is the types of energy efficiency strategies that we're going to talk about. They don't really apply to just purely desktop computing facilities. Okay, well, so I said there's a lot of kind of advice and guidance out there you can tap. And one of the initiatives that started in seems to be Okay, there's lost the page of my presentation. But there's an initiative that began in 2008 called the EU Code of Conduct for Data Centres. And it's set up by the European Commission in the JRC, which is a joint research committee, where they set a lot of standards for energy efficiency for devices across Europe. And the idea was that it's essentially a set of best practices that if you can apply those within your facility, then you can comply with it, and then you then essentially achieve the use of their logo to say that you're doing these best practices and achieving the energy efficiencies that they set out to try and get you to achieve. Now, it's aimed at owner-operators of data centres, but it's also aimed at the industry, so that the industry will then provide, if you like, better energy efficiency services to stakeholders in the data centres. So there's two categories of participant in the EU code. There's the participant status, which is people like ourselves who run data centres, and then there's endorsers that are organisations such as Future Tech and others who commit to encouraging the use of the EU Code of Conduct for data centres, so that everybody will be following it at some point in time, hopefully in the future. Now there's at the moment of the, I think it's, so I've got the slide, 68 companies on the participant list, but only 3 of those are universities. And the University of Hertfordshire was the first university to actually become a participant of the EU Code of Conduct. So it's not been a massive take-up amongst the sector, amongst the HE sector and FE sector as yet. And hopefully we can try and uncover why that is a bit later. But it is a really useful set of, if you go to the website, which is obviously there, and take a look, it's got lots of great ideas about how to improve the energy efficiency of your data centre. And it's not just all kind of, it's not all physical things either. I mean, one of the best practices, for instance, is about having a change meeting with people from within your organisation, stakeholders within your organisation, as well as the IT people. So you try and understand in a forward forecast what kind of technologies, what kind of services you might be running within your data centre in the future, so that you can then plan the physical facilities and ensure that you're running them effectively. So it's not just a physical advice. It's also going into tactical and strategic as well. It does actually, the EU focuses on 2 main areas of your facility. One is the IT load, so it looks at the consumption of the IT load, how much power is being used by IT. And it also then looks at the facilities load as well. So you've got a bunch of IT services that are being run from your data center, but how much is it costing you to actually run those services within that facility? And for most institutions and organisations, the answer is probably too much, which is why the set of guidance is there, because it's supposed to be helping you to reduce your cost of running these services. So, I mean, how do you know whether you're doing the right things in your data center? Well, there are various metrics out there. There are the quantitative metrics and the qualitative metrics. The qualitative metrics, so I think this presentation actually is in other slides. Not helping me present this. Sorry about that. Okay, that's it. All right. Well, I do have a slide missing, but it doesn't matter. So there's two types of metrics. There's qualitative and quantitative. And qualitative basically are based on maturity models. So rather than trying to measure exactly what you're getting from your data set, it attempts to say, well, this is what you think you're doing, and these are the stages for how you can improve on what you're doing, so that you eventually come to a peak level of performance within your data center. And there's two free models out there. There's the OpenDCME, which comes from the Netherlands. It's got a Creative Commons license, which means basically that you can use the model how you wish, but what it doesn't tell you is all the kind of inner workings of the model, how the model is built up. So, although it's useful if you want to get their advice in terms of how to apply it in your facility, but it's very much it's not as easy to understand how to actually build it up in the first place. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend the OpenDCME unless you want to pay some money for a consultant to give you a hand actually applying it. Whereas the Green Grid Data Center Maturity Model is very different, because that actually is free to use. And it's based on all the best practices from the EU Code of Conduct, which is great, because you can see the link between the two. And it's also a benchmarking tool. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, if you go out and evaluate your facility, and then you provide a score for your facility, how good your facility is running, eventually, if we get enough people doing that from different sectors, you'll be able to compare yourself with other institutions, for instance. So you'll be able to see whether you're performing well against other universities or colleges, or performing badly, and therefore, you'll be able to improve your performance in that way. And also, the Green Grid Data Center Maturity Model is also quite challenging to suppliers, because what it's also trying to do is set out this roadmap for the industry and say, we expect you to be this efficient within 5 years. So we don't accept that the status quo is good enough. We want you to be better than that. So it's really going out and really challenging the industry to improve. So it's good, but it is quite technical. So you have to be an M&E person or data center manager in order to be able to look at it in detail. But it is a fascinating model, very good. So, quantitative metrics, well, there's a lot of these out there, but I'd say the industry standard, pretty much at the moment, is a very simple one. It's called Power Usage Effectiveness, or PUE. And essentially what it does, it takes the facility power and the IT equipment power. Basically, it's the IT equipment power as a ratio of facility power. So if you've got a PUE of 2, you can draw quite a good assumption from that you're using, for every watt that goes into your IT, you're using a watt of power to power the facility that's running your IT services. Funny enough, I saw a statistic recently that said that for smaller data centers, the average PUE is around 3. Okay, which suggests using twice as much power to run your facility than you are actually putting into into the IT equipment itself. So there's a lot of work that can be done to improve that. The world average is around 1.9 at the moment. It is coming down because a lot more people are using the best practices to bring that ratio down. But I think it's pretty much appreciated that a target about 1.5 is probably a good one to hit. Once you get below that, you start to hit the law of diminishing returns. The amount it costs you to get below 1.5 sometimes is worth the savings that you're going to make. But you can make considerable savings. Data center indicator efficiency, that's basically 1 over PUE. Some people like to look at it, my data center is X% efficient. So that's just a different way of looking at it. There are lots of other new metrics that have just come out recently from the green grid. A lot of these are from the green grid actually. Water usage effectiveness, there's this big concern about the use of potable water, especially in areas of the world where we've got droughts, short supply. Carbon usage effectiveness, so what's the total carbon use within your facility, which power usage doesn't really address. Energy reuse, which is another new one. We've got a facility where we do reuse energy, so there's an indicator for that. And then, because measuring how effectively you use the power in your facility is a very crude measure. What they've tried to do is that with data center performance per energy metric, trying to say, well, what's the useful work that you're actually doing? Because you can have a server on doing nothing, and it's using 80% of its peak power. So, that doesn't tell you that you're using power efficiently. In fact, quite the reverse. You're actually using it very inefficiently. But DPPE is a way of trying to get to that, the one, if you like, in your PUE, which is your compute power. Trying to make you look at that and see if you can make that more efficient. So we'll be coming back to PUE. Oh, that's my slide. In the wrong place. There we go. So I've already spoken about that, but it's 56 participants and 159 courses. So that's the figures. Okay. So I was supposed to come back. So what's the approach that you might want to take if you were looking to improve the energy efficiency of your data center? Well, my first advice would be, start from the beginning. Plan it in right from the beginning, because if you do that, you'll make everything else a lot easier. Okay? And if you can, especially for institutions that have a fixed budget, go for design and build, because you never know what you're going to find when you pull up the floor. or pull down the ceiling and look up into space above what services might be running across. So what you really want, you need the specialist data center suppliers to come in and give you a price for building your data center. We used this very successfully in our case study. What we did was we built a tender document basically that included all the best practices. So we built in compliance with the data center, EU code of data centers from the start. We also told them about what standards we wanted to achieve. All this information is available quite freely, So, so therefore, you're telling them, you're basically giving your requirements in terms of what you want the end product to look like, but you're not telling the data center provider how to build the data center, because that's their specialism. Let them do that. Okay. And of course, if you want to achieve a certain level of energy efficiency, then you've got to be able to measure what your efficiency is before you even start. So make sure you know what your PUE is. First thing you've got to do is put some sub-metering in. So you can measure the power coming into your facility, and you can also then, when you've finished, you'll have a target PUE that you want to achieve. I mean, our target, we specified a target of less than 2, strangely enough, because at the time we knew we were way above that. But when we got the various proposals in, we had a target PU eventually. The solution we selected was 1.22, and it did achieve that as well. So, you know, that's it. I think that's a really good way of generating innovation in the solution, so that you're getting the suppliers to really think hard about what it is you're trying to achieve in your facility. Of course, if you've, you know, all those would apply to if you wanted to go off and build a new data centre or refurbishing a data centre. But if you've got an existing facility you just want to stretch out and make better use of, then some of the same principles apply. So you've still got to measure your PUE, because otherwise you don't know where you're starting from. But then you can start to identify the low-hanging fruit. You can start to think about things that don't really cost much money, but will give you a large impact in terms of return on investment. And then measure again and see what difference that's made. Some very small changes can reach some really big rewards, and it really is worth doing. And once you've got those calculations, you can use those on ROI justifications. Go now to your senior management and say, give me more money, you know, because if you give me more money, I can generate that back in savings in a very short period of time. So I'll go through some of the best practices. There's the first thing you really want to look at is the more effective your cooling is. Cooling is a large part of your costs of the data centre. So tackling your cooling is really about making sure that the return temperature back to your handling units is as hot as possible. Okay? So the hotter it is, the more effectively it gets cooled. Okay? And so you need to separate out your streams of hot and cold air within the data center. Here we have on the left-hand side, you have an example layout where you do have that separation. So you've got the cold air delivered from the computer room air handling units. It comes under the floor, goes up into the front of the servers. Goes through the servers, and typically the temperature will change by about 10 degrees going through the servers. So it'll come out the back at 10 degrees warmer. Using natural convection, that will go up obviously to the ceiling. Sometimes people will have a full ceiling as well to take the hot air away, and then that will return back to the handling unit where it will then cool again. That's the cycle. That's a traditional layout. It's actually not particularly effective because you've got ample chance for air to mix in this space here. Hot air moves like a liquid and will go all over the place if you allow it. And so therefore, what you can do is an example here. You've got your cold hot aisles, looking from above here. And in this particular example, we're pushing out cold air into the general space of the data centre, but we've actually contained the hot aisles. So there are doors on the ends of the hot aisles. So the hot air can't go anywhere up, can't mix with the cold air, and then we can take that hot air away and do something with it in terms of cooling it. Okay, and that's a much more effective, much more efficient way. And you'd be amazed just by doing that containment, whether you use fixed containment, whether you use butcher's curtains, called plastic curtains that you can put around bags, the savings you'll make. I mean, they can be quite phenomenal. So, blanking panels are another best practice which everyone should have, everyone should be using. These cost next to nothing, and they really are very cheap indeed. And you basically just plug in the holes in your racks because you don't want this hot and cold air to mix. There's an example here. If you haven't got blanking panels, So the cold air is coming up from the floor. It comes up at 21 degrees, which is quite cold. But if you can see that as you go up the rack, because of the mixing of the hot air that's coming back through the other side of the rack, that it's starting to heat up. We've got these hot spots near the top of the rack. Very inefficient, very ineffective, and is likely to cause some of your servers to shut down if you start to have failures. So just by putting blanking panels in, you're preventing the hot air from coming back. You can see that now the cold air maintains a level of consistency up the front of the rack. You can improve these by containing the cold aisle, these temperatures by containing the cold air, so you get a much better consistency as well. But you know, whether you contain a cold aisle or hot aisle doesn't really matter. That you're containing the aisles is the key point. So don't put any shelf-mounted equipment in. Keep the cables away from the fans, the back of the servers. The fans are there to do a job. If you've got cables in the way, just blocking the air from getting out. But with a raised floor, you need to worry about things like plugging all the gaps in terms of having grommets in the floor. You need to make sure that you're not too close to the air handling units that are pushing out the air, because otherwise you'll get negative pressure. If you're pulling hot air down to the floor rather than pushing cold air up. It actually happened in our old data centre. It's quite tricky to try and fix. So basically what happens is that in order to, if you've got a raised floor, you're pushing cold air underneath the floor, okay, you rely not on the velocity of the air under the floor to get the air up into the front of the vats. You rely on what's, the static pressure. Okay? The static pressure is maintained by making sure that it's sealed. So that's why grommets are so important. It's where your cables go down into the floor. Making sure you haven't got any gaps around the edges and all this kind of thing. But also, where you've got the air handling units, because they're pushing the air out quite fast, okay, usually. If you've got your cold aisle too close to them, and I think the recommended distance is 1.6 metres away. The first cold aisle must be 1.6 metres away. Okay. What will happen is that the velocity of the air is so fast, it actually pulls air down rather than allow the static pressure to push the air up. And you can test it by getting just a piece of paper and just holding it above one of the grills. And obviously if it gets sucked down, which is what happened in our case, then you've got a problem. There's two ways of fixing it. One is move your racks further away and position your grid tiles further away so that you haven't got this velocity problem. And the other way is to put like a baffle in underneath your handling unit where you can reduce the speed, say, to 30%, and therefore you're not going to have the problem with velocity.
If I can sort of add to that, it's kind of counterintuitive. You've got an IT department, they've got problems, you've got hotspots in their data centre, which often they've got a problem. So what do? Need more air. So they turn the fan speed up, and of course what that actually does is make the problem worse. So it is counterintuitive, but by slowing the fan speed, you can actually get better air distribution through the room. And of course, from the perspective of this, event, you're actually using less energy with the fans as well. So, like I say, it does kind of work differently to how well we imagine.
Yeah. So you're right, James. It's very counterintuitive. One of the other things, if you're having problems cooling your data centre because it's a very high temperature, turn your set point up, not down. People make the mistake of thinking, I've got to run it colder, I've got to run it colder. Actually, that's less effective. By running it hotter, you're actually much more effective at cooling. It's weird. But there you go. But that's what the best practices do. They give you these ideas that you probably might not have discovered on your own. So that's why it's so great to look at. You need to worry, under the floor, you need to worry about obstacles like cable trays and stuff that are going to affect the distribution of air as well, cold air. And keep dust out of your data centre. Low energy lighting. Your data centre, if you use if you use black racks, expect to use a lot more lighting in your data center. Because if you've ever tried to work in an enclosed aisle with black racks, it sucks all the light out of the room. And therefore, I've heard of people going in with torches. One guy told me he straps a torch to his head as he goes and works in the racks, you know, because it's so dark. Well, you can get around that, just putting light-coloured racks in. And it still annoys me that you go to data centre exhibitions, they're still selling dark-coloured racks. I mean, you know, it's ridiculous. So you can really reduce your energy overhead by doing that. Use PIR lighting, you know, don't rely on the last person who's been in to switch off the lights. And if you do think you're going to need additional capacity, don't build it in day one. Biggest waste of energy ever. Provision for it, but don't actually build it. Make sure you've got the capacity to grow. In electrical configurations, UPSs, and if you want resilience, obviously you can put parallel UPSs in. Now, there's two schools of thought in terms of efficiency of UPSs. There's a lot of people who tell you that it's okay to use the new eco modes UPSs come with, which means basically they don't interfere with the power coming into facilities so much, so you're not getting a lot of the electrical losses that you might otherwise get. And then you could get 98, 99% efficient UPSs if you choose to go down the eco route. Whereas there are other school of thought is you're putting your data center at risk if you do that. So you should always do double conversion, rectification, and inversion to make sure that you smooth out your power signal so you don't damage your equipment. Personally, I think the eco mode is actually the better way to go because you are saving a lot of energy on that. So there's lots of other things in here about making sure your power factors are good. Power factor, I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm sure James probably could explain it later, but essentially if you've got a poor power factor, then you are wasting a lot of electricity from the very start. So trying to get that as close to one unitary value is best. Phase balancing can also be a cause of inefficiencies, and sizing the generator appropriately for your required load is also an important consideration. Free air, this is where, like I say, this is where the biggest impact is going to be made on your efficiencies. The use of free air, not quite free, but you can use direct free air, indirect, and then there's the use of water, adiabatic cooling, which also very, very effective, and sorption cooling. Direct free air is one of the cheapest ways of providing cooling for your data center. However, it's also one of the riskiest because of particulates that you have to worry about. You've got to filter those out. And if you have an event like somebody decide, like November the 5th, bonfire night, you're going to have a lot of smoke around, and that's going to get into your data center. If you live near a rain field, you're going to get a lot of pollen all over your equipment. So there are dangers with using free air. Whereas if you're using indirect free air, you've got a closed system within the data center, and therefore you're not going to have to worry about particular issues. So it's going to really depend on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get out of your data center. Variable speed fans is a great way of improving the efficiency of your cooling if you haven't got the money to go out and buy new air handling units. Humidifiers, do you really need to humidify or dehumidify your data center? Most servers these days actually have such a wide tolerance for humidity that you can probably find, unless you're using direct free air, you probably find you don't even need to even switch your humidifiers on, saving you a lot of money.
And again, Steve, I'll just add there, the last probably 5 data centres that we've completed at Future Tech, we don't have any humidity control in the rooms. They're closely controlled environments. There's no external air coming in via, apart from the air that comes in when the door is open and somebody walks into it. So I have the like boiling a kettle. And I've been in data centres where there is one unit humidifying while another unit the other side of the room is dehumidifying, and they literally just swap, they just juggle with each other all day, and that's burning perhaps 6 kilowatts continuously.
And waste heat recycling. If you can recycle your waste heat, it's not particularly efficient, but if you can do it, then obviously you're going to get a benefit from doing it. Like I say, environment, keep it dust free, reduces failures with equipment, push the temperature up. That we talked about this, touched on it briefly earlier, but this doesn't cost you anything. If you've got to control the environment, pushing the temperature up for the inlet of your surface can reap huge benefits. And I think there's an estimate out there of about 4%.
Yeah,
we saving per degree.
Yeah, we looked at a project funny enough at Sheffield University, and a chap there, Chris, who's now retired, he felt in his research it's about 4% of the data centre and future tech works, and we actually think it's probably closer to 2 in reality. So we say for every degree you raise your air-on temperature, and that's the thing that's important, it's the air-on temperature, and you will gain approximately a 2% rise in efficiency of the cooling system. It is very rule of thumb stuff, but it does give you a very basic idea of what you can achieve.
So worth doing. Especially if it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, to give you an idea, traditionally, if the data centre was being run in a very traditional way, you might find that you're walking in with air-on temperatures, leaving the air-handling unit at actually 16 or 17 degrees. Well, you know, what most IT people are happy with going into their service is actually 22 degrees. Well, you know, straight away there you've got potentially a 5-degree rise, and that could be a 10% saving in efficiency. So just give you some ballpark ideas of what you can achieve quite simply, and I see it for free, providing you can get the airflow sorted out.
So there's a ballpark figure then, 2% will be equivalent to what in monetary terms?
It all depends on your IT load, like everything in you know, within this sector. And you've got a big IT load, you get a big saving. If you don't have a big IT load, you don't. But on a 100 kilowatt data centre with, let's say, a traditional kind of PUE of 2, you might find with some good arm containment, you separating those flow and return systems and raising that temperature, you might find you can drop it down to 1.8. I mean, I'm being conservative here, I want people to achieve the numbers we talk about. So if you drop that to 1.8, that's going to be a 20% gain in efficiency. And I mean, that's very achievable. We just completed a project with Queen's University Belfast. They spent 60,000, and they've got about 200 kilowatt IT load. We've installed our containment, which is about £60,000, and it pays for itself in 9 months. You know, it's pretty amazing stuff, isn't it?
Can I ask a few questions here for us? We're at the college, City College Norwich. We've got a couple of 3 data centres. They're in old rooms, pretty horrendous. You know, there is no such thing as hot oil, cold oil. They're scattered about all over the place. We have raised floors, but that's purely used for the cabling. The cooling rooms are by split system air conditioning, which is pretty ancient, to say the least. We have a horrendous load on the air conditioning that was run up to last year at these units were kicking at 18 degrees. After much persuasion, and after much argument with the IT managers that run these centres, that was changed to 21, but they will not change anything else. And I'm trying to work out, not for my head, trying to work out actually how I can improve the energy use of our IT units. But I'm against quite a battle with our IT managers, because they won't actually adopt any sort of change round of the racks, the aisles, and things, and no, it's going to stay as it is. So I just feel as though I'm up against virtually a brick wall of actually how do I actually try to achieve anything.
Well, I think...
And obviously, I don't really even talk about all the hot fibre cold water, and I've looked at all this and yes, this is the way to go, but I'm up against this other brick wall, you know, reminds me.
I think the case studies that are out there are going to be very persuasive, and I think you need to use those. I mean, I think we can discuss that in the panel, actually. I think it would be a really good point to take.
Hopefully, our information
yeah.
might help on that.
All right.
Something to take a note as well. We'll make sure we discuss that in the panel. Come back to that.
Well, transparency.
Alright. Anyway, moving on. So things like turning off unused servers for the cost of a penny, saving you loads. Okay, identify servers that aren't being used, turn them off. And if you can't find who use them, turn them off and find out who share out those. Turn off your lights when you don't need them. Separate UPS plant area. UPSs have batteries. Batteries do not like to be warmed up. You're going to turn the temperature up in your main data hall, okay, and you've got UPSs in there, it's going to restrict the temperature at which you can turn it up to. So if you put it in a separate room, you can keep that environment at one temperature while you turn up the temperature in your main data room. Simple, effective. So those are some of the best practices within your data center. But there's some other things like the way you run your data center. It's all very well making these point changes and getting efficiencies, but they'll soon be undone by your technical stuff if you're not careful. So I have these 4 M's of data center management. First of all, meter. Really important. Don't do anything else. Meter your data center. Sub-meter it. Okay? Because you've got to understand the size of the problem that you have. And also then it will give you a profile for your data center, how it operates, and what it costs you. Okay? So you're monitoring your profile, and if you see any changes, you can identify where those changes are, what's causing those changes, and then you'll be able to tackle them. Maintain your equipment. Okay? Again, sounds obvious, but people don't. They let it slide. They don't change the filters in their handing units and stuff like this. It all makes it less efficient. You're just burning money for no reason at all. And manage. You know, if you have a sudden hotspot appear that causes a blip on your power, or causes some systems to go down, get in there and fix it straight away. The quicker you fix it, the less impact it has on the rest of your data center environment. The more you turn the temperature up, the more you put best practices in place, the more your data center becomes like an organic system where changes in one place will have impacts elsewhere. So it's really important you do keep an eye on the performance of your data center. Change management, right, this will undo all your good work, so please also make sure this one of your priorities, make sure that change management is a priority for the data center. So, it's all very well we can talk about all these best practices, but what do they mean in real life? Well, this is our case study. We basically had a IT load of 120 kilowatts and a facility load of 264 kilowatts. So we were pretty inefficient. That works out about 2.2, 2.3 PUE. But we refurbished it, and after the refurbishment, using all these best practices, when for the same IT load, we projected that the facility load would be only 146 kilowatts. You can see the massive difference there in the electrical usage per year, which equates to that amount of carbon saving. And for those people who like these kinds of things, that's 170 fewer cars on the road. And so this is how we were using the power within our data center before we did the refurbishment. So the IT load was only 45% of the total facility power. The cooling system was taking up a massive 42%. Electrical usage, significant, was at 13%. So a lot of losses in our electrical system. Once we did the refurbishment now of our total facility load, that's increased to 80% of our power usage, and our PUE is now down to 1.26, actually, annualised across the year. Would be better, but we had quite a mild winter. So we didn't quite get as good efficiencies as we had hoped, because it is temperature dependent, obviously, throughout the year, which is why you have to annualise it. You can't just take it to one at a time. But it has gone down to 1.19, and that was the previous winter where it was a lot colder. So you can see the electrical usage is also a big difference there, because it's gone from 13% down to 1%, hardly any losses. It's really difficult actually for me to measure how much electricity we're using, because it was so little, or for the other systems not to do with the IT, because there's so few losses that I think it was really difficult for me to get that. The cooling usage decreased down to only 19%. And that's using an indirect free air cooling system. So, some of the key outcomes here was that we did a refurbishment, not a new build. If you're not building, you're not putting all that embedded carbon into your facility. So you're immediately got to save, and that's a green data centre right from the very beginning. But also a lot of the cost. A lot of the cost is wiped out if you're not doing any building. So if you can make the best use of the existing facility you've got, all the better. We reused a lot of stuff. We used tiles, we reused pipes, cable work, we reused as much as we could in the data centre. And the recycle rate for what did get disposed of was 80%. So, really, it was a sustainable effort from start to finish. So we increased the capacity by 69%. That wasn't just because we improved the cooling and gave us a lot of power back. We also were pretty gung-ho about consolidating our servers and virtualising them as well. And that gave us a massive contribution to our capacity increase. But with 55% reduction in carbon footprint. And that works out, those cost savings are real. I mean, I measured those the other day, couldn't believe them. I had to check them with my energy manager. So I've checked them from two different perspectives, what we pay on the bill and what I'm getting out of the power meters. And it was true, but I am including the carbon cost here. The carbon cost is about £8,000. But we saved £186,000 last year on a 75 square metre facility, okay? Which is, about the size of this room, maybe?
Max.
Yeah.
75 square metre, how much does the project cost?
Project cost, well, if you take out project management costs and temporary facility costs, it was about 430,000 or 40,000 total. So that's a payback in under 4 years.
In addition to that, Steve, you've got other benefits as well. Like space, you freed up space.
Oh, yeah.
Now used for other purposes, which is. I'd like to know your thoughts
And we've also reused the waste heat as well, put it into our domestic hot water system, and so preheats the water in the building. It's an LRC that it's in, and preheats the water to 40 degrees maximum. So that's also a big saving. So, summary, potential for improvement in environmental efficiency, data centers is vast. You just have to go off and do it. Okay, don't hold back. And there's lots of free stuff that you can dip into to get you some advice and some help with that. And it doesn't have to cost the earth either. Some things that we discussed are free. But you've got to measure what you're doing because you've got to see what the improvements are. You can use those return on investment justifications for getting money out to improve things even better. Go for the cheap and easy stuff first. Tackle the harder stuff later. And then when you've got the measurements, as I say, you can use that to further justify. So, thank you very much. Are there any questions? We've got a short time for questions.
I just wanted to chip something in. We're in a different place in each sense. We're a commercial organisation. Okay? So rather than like Steve and the other guys here who are looking after a single data centre and learning about how that has progressed and moved forward, we work with 22 universities in the last 2 years. So we see the recurring things coming along. And one lesson, and this harks back to the question that you asked earlier, the one thing that I put forward is that the most important thing is interacting successfully with IT. And the thing, you've got to get buy-in from those guys because it's their facility, and if it doesn't work properly, it's them that's going to get it in the neck. And bear in mind that this will run everything from email, some establishments we go to, it's even door access. Potentially you can't get in the buildings if this room isn't working properly. So you've got to take that into account. And the other thing to remember is do a bit of an internal sales job of these guys. A lot of what you will achieve by making changes and gaining efficiency will actually help the IT guys with probably the operational problems they're experiencing. If you've got a very inefficient data centre, the chances are the IT guys are probably running out of space, they've probably got hotspots, they've probably got operational issues with the data centre. So the first meeting with those guys should be, tell me about your data centre, tell me about your operational issues, because you'll find that by you getting a more efficient data centre, you'll actually help these guys run their facility better. And I think if you go with that mind, I'm here to help you run a better data centre, rather than I'm here to cut energy because you're using so damn much of the stuff, I think you'll be more successful. And, you know, we've learned that the hard way, and we've gone into, you know, to IT departments and sort of got in there with a big stick and said, look at all of this you can achieve. And I'll be honest, you know, learn from our mistakes, it hasn't all worked. So, you know, if you go in there with a consultative approach, you said it's more like I've before, go in there, ask some questions, find out how they run their room, I think you'll find much greater success.
And I can tell you that we included, in our project, we included the states people.
Absolutely.
You know, and we brought the environment team in as part of the project team. So we actually got everybody in helping us do this. You know, it wasn't just the IT department doing their own thing. And that's why it's successful. It's successful because we've got the stakeholders involved.
I was just going to say who was on with the project team, and you're from IT Labs.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at the code of conduct, whether your organisation decides to adopt the code and kind of be a flag waver, or just takes on the best practices, I tell you right now, it's probably the best piece of free information you can get out there. Really, it's just simple dot-to-dot stuff. And one of the first, literally the first best practice that's on there is put together an approval board, and that really should be your main IT person. Data centre manager, if that's a different person, because it could be in different organisations, somebody from estates, which is vital that they are involved, your energy manager. If you've got those four people,
Somebody from business.
somebody from business. Oh yeah, of course. You're absolutely right. I forgot that one. And somebody from business. That's very important as well. And somebody from the business perspective. If you guys all sat around the table, everything will be much more successful. I really mean that.
From my perspective, where I am, it's a case of up there and ask for virtually is the our IT department does exactly what it feels it should do. Alright. But really find it hard to communicate with them. So if I went in and actually said to them, well, what's your practice? Do you think you're running this area really well? Can you feed back? Others turn around to me and say, look at your business, this is our area. So I'm up against an obstacle to some degree to start with.
May I ask who pays their electricity bills?
I do.
There you go. So that's it. You're in the meeting.
Right, okay. We're going to have to move on, I'm afraid. We're running out of even panel time now. I want to only share with you very quickly, it's going to take me half a minute, that there was a project that EAUC was involved in called SUSTED, and it did look at best practices across institutions. The outputs of this project are going to be available on the website, on the previous page. And so if you want to take a look at that, see what's in there, you can.
Hopefully this will answer some of your questions, give a slightly different perspective, because obviously you're talking very sort of grand scales, of hundreds of thousands of pounds. We've got a data centre that's in an old police station in a room at the back. It's a very small room. We didn't have capacity to put in hot aisles, cold aisles, and have much room to move things about, as you'll see from a couple of the pictures. So we've gone from a different angle to try and reduce the energy from the actual way we've been calling it. So the way we've been calling it is using AC. So our system using AC was very inefficient, as they all are. So in brief, and so this is my mathematics screen, and this is David King, so we're both from Worcester College of Technology. Our AC conditioning system, when we worked out the figures, was costing us almost £10,000 a year, just in keeping the place cool. And that didn't seem to make, it seemed to be a lot of energy use for just a lot of hot air being created and a lot of cool air created to bouncing off each other and being a very inefficient way of actually managing it. We created nearly 62 kilograms of CO2 per year using this system. And as I mentioned, we wouldn't be able to actually cool things down or change the way that we actually manage the systems. Our IT team had a very different approach in the sense that our IT team, and Dave's team especially, have been very forward-thinking and been behind this all the way. But one of the key things has been actually trying to get everybody involved. As James said, with the getting estates working, getting the business, getting the exec at the top to all agree and get everyone to sit around the table and get this actually to work. So we came up with a plan of using just money, and a bid that came up for a cool IT system to try and get some money in. Money in FE, quite different to HE, there isn't any. So we had to try and find somebody else who can give us the money to do this. And we managed to be very successful as an FE college to get this money in. We got £50,000 to implement this project. For that, we used the GIST-ML system through the EAUC to ask who actually done a system like this, where instead of using AC power, they could AC cooling. What else is there out there? And funny enough, the university was just down the road saying that we're putting in a new build and we can use Celsius design and an EVAC cooling system instead. So how did this work for you? See if this works. So a gentleman from Celsius came in and explained the system, and this is the system that we went for. Overall, in short, it's going to take, we think about a 5-year turnaround on this, but it's a lot less money in and a very quick turnaround. So for this bit, I'm going to hand over to Dave just to explain the actual system of how this EVAC cooling works, and just a quick look at our server and the scales.
Yeah, I'm from the BAM side, looking from IT. And if we turn the cameras off, I'll tell the truth. Don't mention the States. Don't mention the States. Yeah, we were having problems with our cooling, our traditional AC. It wasn't doing the job. It was causing us undue call-outs at 4 o'clock in the morning. The alarm was going off, it's going on. I got fed up with getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and thought we had to do something.
It was our only line of defence as well. So it was. The AC went off. That's it.
That was it. It got hot very quickly. I must explain actually our data centre. I love sitting in these conversations and seeing university data centres. I sit there, I am green with envy. What we call a data centre starts here, comes to about, well, probably halfway across that.
You're exaggerating.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating, and it comes out to that. So, and we are in an old police station, and it is bomb-proof. And I actually do mean, as long as it's not a very big bomb, it is bomb-proof. The walls are very, very thick. When the new system was going in, we had specialist drillers in, and it took about 3 days to get through one wall. And the one driller actually made a comment and said, he drilled into the banks easier than getting into our data centre.
He probably shouldn't have said that.
He went through 3 drills, not bits, 3 drills. He burnt them out to get it in. It was horrendous.
That's just us though.
So if you want your data secure, I've got a great place for it. Sorry, my attendance, right? Okay. Right. It was fun and interesting. Yeah, we had traditional AOC, expensive to run, expensive to maintain, not particularly efficient. You all know traditional AOC. So we were looking around for an alternative. Alex went out to the list, talked to people, and we came up with an EVAC cooler, which sounded great, but we would like to have took it one step further. So what did we do? Yep, EVAC coolers, they make claims of 90% greater efficiencies over traditional AC. That was wonderful. And we use photovoltaics for offsetting that. And I'm a bit sceptical. I'm in IT, of course I'm sceptical. So we gave it a go. And that's what we ended up with. I'm pointing here and sort there. On the left-hand side is we just have one EVAC cooler and our photovoltaic cells are looking over a beautiful part of the world. It actually is, because that's Worcester County Cricket Ground just over there. It's down by 7 minutes, it's gorgeous, and it's daylight all the time. And it actually works. Alex and I comment about estates.
In a nice way, estate.
Actually, I'll go to that. think this is where we have a lot in common with other FE institutions, not HE. We are 2 to 3 years behind any type of monitoring of electrical consumption across campus, at least 2 to 3 years. And I'm going to talk here about how successful this has been, but the real benefit is that it's started the evolution of our estates department into monitoring electrical consumption. I will be positive about it, although I've been swearing a lot over the last 12 months. This has started them looking at electrical consumption across the campus, not just our data centre big group. And we're starting to make efficiencies, because well, you all know that argument. So even if you are in a small FE college, this can start the ball rolling. And sorry, I did waffle. Okay. Some of the issues we face, so getting back on the topic, is we host a regional pod, and this is our data centre.
It doesn't stretch.
Left hand, that is it. The wall that we came through is in the top left-hand corner.
There's a traditional AC units at the top there, isn't there?
Yes, that's what we have. And they come around the room. We don't have raised floors or anything special like that. We've just given a room to put your equipment in, and there's no argument essentially. But we had to move that point of presence, and it's not our equipment. And there was talk of having to get 2 talcos in to move. We were only moving it about 6 inches, but we had to get 2 talcos in, and it was going to be horrendous. So we had a conversation with Janet, who didn't want to get 2 talcos in as well.
Janet, join that network.
Yeah. I'm sure. And they came in early one Tuesday morning, 6:30, put a ticket out, said the network at risk, and we moved it. We moved it because of that is the outlet. And we had to move it sideways, they had to drill through the wall, we had the TARDIS, but they came through for dust containment, the whole lot. And it's a beast. When you consider the room isn't that wide anyway, that is a beast of the thing to put in. But it does work the truth. And yes, we had to put another ticket in and move the cabinet back. And it was a special event. Yeah, very interesting. There was fibre. Oh, I don't crush a fibre. There we go. Yeah, as I mentioned, FE colleges are, with the odd exception, I've been hearing about all week and it's been really pleasing to hear, we are behind. We are really behind, but we're getting there. Yeah, interesting one. EVAC callers have the nickname swamp callers, but they don't work well in humid conditions. Apparently swamp cooling is the smell that comes off the pads.
Yes,
yes, yeah.
What's that?
Over the last 12 months, we've had the odd day where it has been too humid and our traditional AC has kicked in. We have it on an 8-hour monitor, so it's not flapping all over the time. But 2 days and just under a year, not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, space. If you have got small rooms dotted about all over the place, and not big rooms like this, a dream. You've got to consider that. You have to. We've actually lost the ability to have, in our end cap, we can't have full depth service, because we just can't pull it out on the rails. But that's okay, we just change it around, put networking equipment in. We just put networking equipment in there and it's no longer an issue. Getting it out in the first place to swap it over was an issue. We were talking about moving the cab back and everything, but we got around it. Interesting, where we're going for the future, hot oil containment, we're going to put butcher's curtains in, and all those type of things, and blanket plates, and yeah, we don't have the money. Is that the story so far?
Yeah, it's this is the main thing. I know most of you sort of they've just mentioned it again. We need to just monitoring it has been one of the key things because we have the systems in place already. But it has been a good lesson in actually getting IT, estates, management, and so forth, all talking together. And I think we had to convince the estates more that this was going to be of benefit. And then they were then fully behind us, seeing the benefit for IT, and it did start to get a ball rolling. And then actually being able to see on paper that that it was actually saving energy, the amount of money that we were getting, the amount of energy we were getting from the PV cells on the roof was enough to offset the amount of energy that this new cooling system that was using, which was, is it a tenth or a fifth of the energy it was using before. They're starting to balance out. So we've almost got we've got no CO2 coming from this new system as far as we know, I don't think we're producing CO2. And it's almost cost-free, whereas it was costing us £10,000 a year to run this. And even though we had the problems with going through large walls and things like that, I mean, that was the exception. Overall, the project went through pretty straightforward, really. Getting the monitoring in there was probably the most complicated part and getting that right into our system. But it was just really smooth.
I can't give you many figures because we only got them Monday night after 12 months. During the winter period, we did require some from the grid to power this unit. However, now daylight hours are increasing, we're starting to hold our own. So as those daylight hours increases on the photovoltaics, we should balance out, over a 12-month period, we should actually balance out.
It's certainly saving us thousands of pounds and tens of thousands of kilos of CO2 a year.
We'd like to do more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just concerned there might be one or two issues from the floor itself. Just on the theme of being interested in what these people have done and learning from, for yourselves, what do the panel think about involving suppliers the way you're talking about involving internal departments? Discuss.
What I'll take from my perspective is that the thing with the data centre is to not actually look at it from a solution perspective. If somebody comes in and starts talking about a specific solution, okay, they're trying to sell you a specific solution, okay. The big thing is to do fact finding. What is important to know is what pressures is the data centre under, what is the future strategy for growth, okay, how big is it? I mean, fresh air systems, brilliant in this respect. Your project, fantastic. Using, solar panels, just fantastic. The big thing you've got to remember with fresh air systems is you've got to shift a lot of air to move a lot of heat. We've completed, FutureTech's completed a fresh air system for Sainsbury's supermarkets, okay? Just one of the air handling units, bear in mind there are 4, just one of the air handling units you can park a transit van in it, okay? So these are the drawbacks with fresh air systems. So if somebody comes in and instantly starts talking to you about fresh air, it's not the way forward. You need to look at all of the different constraints of a project, actual IT growth through to how thick your walls are, and everything in between, and then the right solution will present itself quite obviously, to be quite honest. That's what we generally find. And that is what I really would say. If somebody comes in and starts talking to you about a solution, it's not the route to go because they're trying to sell you a solution. And that is probably the biggest thing you can take from what I've said, to be honest.
We certainly couldn't have done this without outside help at all. We just weren't in a position of having the knowledge, let alone the capability.
I mean, I agree with everything that James said. I mean, basically, from our perspective, we started my project knowing nothing about green IT. So we started from base zero. We had to get up very quickly. We were told, we had lots of people like HP and Sun at the time come in and say, well, give us £10,000 and we'll tell you where to start. We saw our budget was just about to disappear before we'd even done anything. And so once we'd gone out and started to look at some of the other universities, what they'd done, and went to commercial companies, see what they'd done, kind of got to sink in. But we went to a course actually. One of the great things was we took a course in data center design, and it's a 3-day course, and I'd say it's one of the best courses I've ever been on because it gave you all the principles and best practices. And then I had a handbook. I came back with a handbook of what I should be doing, and then I could talk to suppliers, eloquently about what the solutions they might be able to bring to the party. And it was much more a kind of give and take relationship, on equal terms, rather than have somebody come in and say, "You want this?" Do I? I didn't even know I wanted that. And so it's very much better that having that kind of discussion. And if you go through the tendering process, as we all have to do as institutions anyway, you're going to get different suppliers into challenging them. I find the best way of finding out whether a supplier really knows their stuff is to change the requirements on them in the interview. So basically, we worried about suppression systems, whether we could get, whether it could be integral to the room, because we had lots of holes in the ceilings and stuff. And we had 2 different suppliers we were talking to, particularly at that time. And I just said to both of them, like, what if you couldn't do what you suggested you could? What if once you took all the ceiling down, what if you couldn't do that? And one of them went, well, we have to do this. No, what if you couldn't? No, we have to. So they proved themselves not to be very flexible. And we knew that if they ran up against a problem, they weren't going to be able to resolve that problem, particularly on cheaply. But the other supplier, who happened to be Quantitative, they said, "Oh, we can't do that, then we'll do this. Well, we've got this other solution we could possibly try." So it was about the flexibility they can bring to your solution. So if you challenge them in that way, you'll get much better result.
The other thing that people say, I attended several of your events, Cardiff, Imperial, I think there's one there. And although most of the conversations were on a scale that, as I say, I was envious of, those events helped me to begin this journey, and I found it very useful. And as I say, this is a journey for us for the entire college, not that data centre.
And that's the thing to point out as well. It's not just for universities, it's for colleges, more businesses that have the public sector that have data centres.
And sorry, I just want one thing to add to this, okay? In the private sector, we do something called lean provisioning, okay? So we only build a data centre to accommodate the next 18 months' growth, okay? University, particularly the university sector, is very different. We discussed why colleges do this. Universities often, a budget is given, okay? Build your data centre, that's going to last you 15 years, okay? One lump of money, okay? So what you've got to remember is that a university or college data centre is likely to spend at least 50% of its life at less than 50% IT load. So what is really important, if somebody starts spouting great PUEs at you, find out, is that a partial load PUE? Because remember that if your facility spends half of its life at only 50% load, it can be really efficient at 100% load, but might not actually get there for 9 years. So be very conscious of what is the partial load PUE, and this comes back to your strategy, and again the EU Code of Conduct talks about this, so it's something to be aware of. But I think particularly for the sector, HEF sector, that is a vitally important piece of information.
Thank you very much. I've let it go on a bit, it's 20 past, so I wanted to get teas and coffees. I'm sure these people will be around during the day if there's any questions, so I'll have that opportunity. Thank you very much indeed. And a round of applause, please.